The story I'm about to tell is about someone from my village. The house belonged to the Wang family. The husband's name was Wang Taozi, and he has been married for over 10 years with 2 young children. The couple was not harmonious, arguing over small things for 3 days and over major issues for 5 days. Everyone in the village knew about their troubles, and they were used to the noise in the house. And the family tragedy began when the third person appeared. You can only sympathize with the wife who cried her heart out because her husband was having an affair, but she couldn't do anything about it. In terms of appearance, the woman named Lu was more attractive than Taozi's wife. Women outside felt sorry for Taozi's wife, but most men who didn't love their wives believed that the beautiful woman like Lu could easily captivate a man's heart. Wang Taozi didn't know how much he loved Lu. No one in the house, young or old, could convince him otherwise. He decided to leave and no longer wanted to live with his wife. Even though the 2 children desperately pleaded, "Daddy, please don't go," it couldn't change his mind. He didn't care at all about the 2 children. That time, after a quarrel with his wife, he angrily left without ever looking back. Afterwards, Wang's wife took the 2 children to her mother's house and asked her to take care of them. Unable to overcome this despair, the wife went to the village's river and threw herself into it. Within a day, the 2 children suddenly became orphans, with their father following the younger woman and their mother sadly passing away. Less than a month after their mother's death, joyful news spread in the house. That day was Wang Taozi's wedding day. He married the woman named Lu just 1 month after the death of his previous wife. He didn't even want to mourn his late wife. But life was not as peaceful as he thought after marriage. Lu always saw the 2 children as a burden, and she constantly beat and scolded them, even though they didn't do anything wrong. She was incredibly cruel to the 2 children. The 2 children always had to endure beatings under the cruel hands of their stepmother. Although they had a father, the 2 children couldn't rely on him. They had to endure their stepmother's mistreatment, even during meals. Every time they thought of their mother, the 2 children cried their hearts out. When they saw Wang coming home from work, the 2 children cried, covering their faces and telling him about their aunt's beatings. But Wang showed no pity and criticized the children, saying they deserved to be punished. He said it was their mother's job to discipline them, and if they were not taught, they would become spoiled. That was something she had the right to do. He also said that if they were at fault, they should take responsibility for it and then kick them out to think for themselves. Both siblings suffered injustice and didn't know who to talk to. The younger brother immediately suggested finding their mother because he missed her. After that, the 2 siblings held hands and went to the cemetery to visit their mother. They knelt before the grave, feeling sad and crying profusely. Their longing for their mother couldn't be expressed in words. They didn't know where to pour out their sorrows, so they could only speak to their mother. While they were talking, a small gust of wind passed through the cemetery. Then, the gust of wind surrounded the older sister twice, and suddenly she stood up. Her expression became more serious and firm. She didn't say anything, but suddenly she tightly grasped her younger brother's hand. Then, she pulled him along without saying a word, leaving her younger brother bewildered. They walked home hand in hand, not uttering a single word. The 2 siblings entered the house together. At that moment, the stepmother was still angry, and when she saw the 2 of them returning, she immediately started scolding them harshly. Noticing that the 2 siblings were covered in dirt, Lu grabbed a broom intending to continue the punishment. But unexpectedly this time, the older sister displayed great strength and decisively snatched the broom from the stepmother's hand. The stepmother was taken aback by a strong resistance. The elder sister wielded the broom, striking the stepmother repeatedly, just as Lu had beaten the younger sister before. The stepmother's face was marked with injuries and she screamed for Wang to intervene. Seeing this, Wang stepped forward, took hold of the broom and tried to restrain his daughter. But to his surprise, his daughter displayed remarkable strength and broke free from Wang's grip, rushing to strike the stepmother relentlessly. No matter how the stepmother begged, the girl wouldn't stop until the broom was broken, reduced to a useless stick. The stepmother was left lying on the ground, unable to get up. She looked at the weak and helpless girl who had transformed into someone else with a bewildered expression. As the broom broke, the girl suddenly collapsed on the ground, unconscious and unaware of what had transpired. News quickly spread and people believed that the girl's deceased mother had borrowed her daughter's body to return and teach the wicked stepmother a lesson. Eventually, the two children continued living with their grandmother.